Welcome to the latest episode of the AUTOVATE Podcast, a conversation that focuses on the intersection of automotive investment, entrepreneurship, and selling cars. Today's episode is brought to you by DAS Technology, which is the leading worldwide provider of consumer engagement solutions, helping 9,200 businesses in 32 countries leverage digital solutions to get an unfair advantage. With its comprehensive CDXP, automotive dealers transform CRM and DMS data into actionable insights by finding hidden leads and converting them into immediate revenue. Request a demo today. Visit dastechnology.com. And now, on to today's episode. My name is Cliff Banks. I am the host and co-founder of AUTOVATE, our annual event in Scottsdale, Arizona, December 6th through 8th. The AUTOVATE Summit, it's our 7th year, and we have a strong lineup, as always, of guests, culminating on Friday, December 8th with Damon John, the co-host of Shark Tank and founder of FUBU. We'll be engaging in a fireside chat that morning. You don't want to miss that. If you've not yet registered, visit us at autovate.org, and you'll see more information on our great panel of speakers and all of the networking opportunities that we have at the conference. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We have 3 guests with us, rising stars in the automotive retail space. Just recently named to Auto Remarketing's 40 Under 40 list for 2023. Congratulations to the 3 of you. I'm old enough to remember when there wasn't any 40 Under 40 lists, but what a great honor from your peers and people recognizing the hard work and leadership that you guys bring to our industry. So to my immediate left, Samantha Splane, who is the Marketing and Customer Experience Officer with the Sterling Automotive Group out of Louisiana. A Louisiana girl.
That's right, yeah.
15 different stores, right?
15 locations.
11 new car brands and several used car locations also.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, welcome. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And I think we'll be continuing some of our conversations that we've had over the last year, some really insightful, vigorous conversations, too, about our space.
Looking forward to it.
And then to my left here, Rebecca Coates Lapidario. I got that right?
Yes.
Great. She is the assistant to the general manager, actually the person behind the person running the store, Bob Stahl Chevrolet, one of the largest, our best-selling dealerships in California, Chevrolet dealerships. And, when you think about our industry today and we hear about all of the consolidation in dealer groups, and yet we have this independent new car dealership, one brand selling, outselling several stores in the California market. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And to my right, Erika Maley. She is with the Don Haddon Group out of Wichita, Kansas, which is owned by Jill Haddon.
Yep.
And so they are in town. We are in our studios in Scottsdale this week. So welcome to Scottsdale. Yeah, I think I'm going to start the conversation today talking about what's going on in the dealership. And I'll frame it this way because there's been so much change over the last few months. What's going on, or what's different today than what was going on a few months ago or a year ago? Samantha,
What's different? Everything is different, right? So we're in a post-COVID era, which is a different era of selling vehicles, certainly. You're starting to see some inventory returning, but you've got rising interest rates. Everybody is battling a sales floor that maybe doesn't know how to sell vehicles post-COVID, right? That grind of automotive sales that they're certainly not used to. And then I think the biggest thing that we're having to overcome is we're having to move away from transactional buying that we've been experiencing for the last several years. It was okay. You had a vehicle, you sold it for a premium price. The consumer really didn't ask any questions. And we are definitely having to move back into a more relationship buying based method of selling. And we're going to have to teach that to our consultants all the way down to our service people as well. It's a huge change for us.
Well, just a few months ago, I mean, we were talking still about inventory levels not being there, but all of a sudden now they've increased to a point where the day supply is now getting back to pre-COVID days. So much for the discipline of the manufacturers that, that we were thinking for a while or talking about them not moving in that direction. But I guess with the interest rates, the inventory is starting to pile up.
Yes,
So the
absolutely.
selling is getting more difficult. Interesting. Rebecca.
I think it's value-based selling, right? So you have to go back to the basics, and some people have become a little bit comfortable in the environment that they were in, and now you have an uphill battle. Trade values are going in the direction we wouldn't like them to be, right? So they bought the car during a peak demand,
Right.
and how do we get out of that? So we're having to be creative in meeting the customers where they need to be.
Yeah, so those valuations are starting to come down quite a bit, and that impacts them being able to trade a car in and get the down payment they're looking for or expecting that maybe they would have gotten before. What's going on in Kansas?
Yeah, I think we're seeing all the same things, higher interest rates. We're getting people that are coming into the stores now that are upside down because they bought 3 years ago. So it's meeting the customer in the middle and trying to figure out what's most important to them and figuring out what's the best options for them and helping explain to the customer what's going on and how we can meet their goals and still have an affordable car for them.
What does that do to just that whole customer experience? I mean, the industry buzzword for us is CX,
Transparent,
or being transparent. How do you manage that in the dealership today?
So I think it's us being true and honest. We talk a lot in our dealerships about how you should treat our customers as how you would treat Jill Hatton, our owner, right? Any person that comes into the store is our most prized possession, and that's our customers. And we need to treat them like that. They maybe aren't the most educated. Maybe there is some education that we need to give them, and that ultimately builds trust in us and our brand.
You're right. What about the data in the dealership? I mean, we spend a lot of time in this industry talking about the data, and certainly the data integration. That's not always smooth between your various vendors, and even keeping that data pure or cleansed. How do you go about that at the dealership? Is it a problem, or do you find ways around it, or is there software today that's helping manage that better?
Yeah, I think that there are vendor solutions out there that you can certainly partner with, and that you should be partnering with. If you want to do a good job, and by a good job, I mean a great job of actually mining your own customer database from sales and service, you need to have some systems in place. If at the end of the day you are relying on your sales team or sales managers to do that, they're not going to. Put the software in place that can help you pull out that data to contact those customers, and that's going to help you win every day of the week.
We talk about customer data platforms now. How has that changed in the last 2 or 3 years? Are you seeing more of a focus on that's real from the vendor side?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for so long that dealers have relied on their CRM, right? They've relied on their sales staff and their CRM and go in and find customers that we haven't sold to in a while. But there are vendors that have broken into the space that can pull that out for you and send it to you in an email or assign those tasks right out to your team. And that's low-hanging fruit for them that they can appreciate and work on and grab. And it's such a huge opportunity. If you're out there and you have a dealership and you're not utilizing a service like that, you are missing the boat without a doubt.
Rebecca, you're studying AI right now.
I think a lot of it's going to have to be with making sure you're utilizing the right data points, right? Because with data, there's probably 1,000 points to every sale, right? So you have to make sure you're timing it consistently, you're watching the right metrics. And then automation. Automation is a huge part of utilizing your data properly. But on top of that, you have to consider the user experience, right? So make sure you're using consistent messaging, you're timing your messages properly, and use automation where you can, but don't forget the human aspect of it. people are always going to respond better to a phone call than they are email or text message. And it's about making sure you have the message that the customer is looking for when they're looking for it.
All right, let's break it down for a second. You talked about making sure you're using the right data. How do you do that?
So in our dealership, we're looking strategically, you're going to say at equity, right? Okay. So if you're considering equity, not everybody that bought 3 years ago is in an equity mining position, especially with today's current rate, right? So you got to consider, what was their down payment before? Could we get them where they need to be in this market without that same down payment? So those upgrade your vehicle programs, they may not necessarily work today the way they have in the past.
So you have to make sure you're sending that right message to the customer, because if you're sending that message out and it's to a customer that's not able from a credit perspective to make that move, all you're going to do is frustrate them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Are you guys having that AI conversation?
For sure. Yeah. I think if you're not having it, you're doing a disservice to your salespeople. I mean, the salespeople, obviously, they want to work, they want to make money, but let's make their jobs easier and see if that also gets us more that we wouldn't have gotten before. Because when you have been in business for, even a dealership that's been in business for 25 years, you think of all that data that's in your database.
Sure.
It's impossible to reach out to all these people. So yeah, of course, using some type of AI to help filter what messages to send when to who is very important.
What are you guys using?
So we have a couple of different tools. We're a VIN Solutions dealer, and they've also got some really interesting products that they've rolled out in the last several years that we're using. But I'm always telling people, don't rely on that, right? If you get stuck, okay, let's say you're in this process, but the person still isn't engaging with you. What can you do? Well, you can sit there and do nothing, or you can go Google it. How to get a customer to engage with you. Use a chat tool. Use chat GPT maybe. And I'm not saying copy exactly what chat GPT says.
Right.
But use it as a starting point, perhaps, of how to get someone to engage and respond to you. Either saying, sorry, I'm not interested, or, well, we might be considering in a couple of months even. I mean, just any type of engagement is a huge success on our side.
What are you using for AI?
So we do use ChatGPT. We use it a lot in our customer responses. But again, to your point, it's not built to be conversational. So you use it as a building block. You say, how can I respond to this? It gives you some information, and then you still have to personalize it. So it's utilizing AI to build your customer experience, not as a absolute.
Are you using to help build scripts?
Templates, some templates. Yeah, we see that a lot of people are engaging more with conversational templates. So instead of, hey, come in and buy a car today, come in and take a test drive. You know, people have been in this internet buying cycle before this point. So those are outdated. So, and for trades, for example, right? So KBB says, okay, you've done a KBB lead. So when can you come in and I can look at your car in person? But instead, we utilize our tools to our advantage. Can you text me some pictures of your vehicle? Because that's what they're passionate about. Okay. They're passionate about their vehicle. We're passionate about their vehicle. But it's starting the conversation.
So, all right. So let's say I'm a customer and I text some pictures of my vehicle to you. What happens after that?
So we're going to acknowledge their beautiful vehicle. We acknowledge it. And then we discuss it with our manager. And sometimes the used car manager is going out to their house to do an in-person appraisal. So we're going outside of the norms of, hey, come in. We want to look at your vehicle.
Are you seeing a future where maybe those pictures can be uploaded to an AI software provider that then...
Well, the technology that UVI has is very, very beneficial. And I know that right now for UVI, you have to drive the vehicle directly through to get that technology to give you values. But I think that could be something that could be employed in the future through text.
You using AI in Louisiana?
We are using AI, and even in little bitty Louisiana. I think two of my favorite places that we've really been able to utilize it is absolutely in texting to our consumers. And flat out, I think our salesmen just get tired. They have to say the same thing many times, right? So entering that and then having some options and picking and choosing and personalizing. But from a marketing perspective, we've had really good success for it with copy on social media captions. We are creating content for 15 dealerships. There's only so many ways to say the same thing on social media.
Right.
It has been amazing to be like, let me let my brain rest for a second. And sometimes we will get an idea and go, let's just tweak it a little bit. And it works great. So loving having that as an option for us. It's been wonderful.
Even from a video perspective, using captions on videos.
Yes.
And okay, it's interesting. Yeah, it seems to be developing so quickly too that trying to keep up with that.
The next iteration of ChatGPT is actually going to allow you to input documents, images, and that's just this technology is rapidly advancing. Right. So soon it might be selling cars. We don't know.
So all three of you sell domestic brands too, right? And some import. What's happening with EVs? What are
With
you seeing?
EVs?
Yes.
Our EVs don't stay on our lot. We can't get them to...
So you're turning them...
We're turning them quickly, and we are rapidly advancing our infrastructure to support the EVs. We are doing mobile service. We are installing additional chargers. We are aligned with the General Motors advancement in that area. But San Diego supports it.
Right.
It's an infrastructure where you don't have to drive very far to get to a rapid charger. We have chargers on our lot that charge a vehicle within an hour fully, but not everybody has that. And we appreciate that, our customers have the option for EV or traditional vehicles, and we support them in whichever way they feel comfortable.
Okay, so what's your best? Is it the Bolt?
The Bolt EUV, and we think that the Equinox EV is going to be a pretty substantial redesign.
I've said this. I think the Equinox EV SUV, which now has been pushed to next year, so spring of next year, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that may be the most critical EV launch in the U.S. for the next few years. So that's going to tell us a lot about, I think, where demand really
And we saw it
is.
in person.
Yes.
It's a stunner.
It is, yeah. It looks really good. I think they've done a great job with their Blazer, too.
Yeah, the Blazer.
That's a phenomenal looking vehicle. What about in Kansas? It may be a different story in Kansas.
Kind of the complete opposite. We don't get a lot of EVs to sell. We had 3 Mach-E's on the ground a month ago, and I think we still have all 3. There's a lot of interest, but in Kansas, there's not an infrastructure there. I mean, if you want to go from Wichita to 90 miles away, there may or may not be a charging station, and that can be a little bit scary, In Kansas, you have extreme high temperatures and extreme low temperatures, so everyone knows that affects the mileage on them. So we don't have a huge demand for them, but we also don't have a lot of them. I mean, on the Chevy side, we've gotten in 1 Blazer at this point, and it did sell very quickly, but it's a new product, right?
Sure.
We've only had in 1 Lightning at our Ford location, and that was the mannequin that we were, forced to keep for a while, and we haven't gotten one in since. So we don't have a lot to sell. And it's hit or miss on if they're going to sell or not. And I think a lot of it has to do with price point. People might be more interested in them, but if they're going to spend $60,000 on something, they've got to be sure on it. And that's not very comfortable.
Right. What are you guys seeing?
So South Louisiana is very much oil country.
Of course.
EVs for us are definitely not picking up at the rate that they would in more urban areas.
Right.
So, I mean, for us, if you want to charge an EV, there's 1 charging station or there are our dealerships, and that's it. So there is no existing infrastructure. However, we do have a good bit of EV inventory, and that's because we have found that we're very successful at shipping EVs into markets that have a demand for them. So we are doing out-of-state EV business with great success.
So, all right, so markets that have a demand for them, what are some of the markets, let's say outside of California?
Yeah, so Austin is a huge market for us, and even into Florida as well. We do great EV business there.
I was just looking at the data the other day, and we're still first year to date, 49.6% of all EV sales happen in California. And it's 2 Tesla models that account for 53.6% of all EV sales in the U.S. right now still. So it's interesting watching this slowly migrate to what I think will not be a great transformation for a while. I think it's going to be a mixture of hybrid, ICE, and EV, especially for Ford and Toyota on the hybrid side. Maybe not so much with General Motors, but that's interesting that in San Diego that you're really aggressive and that sales are pretty aggressive. Yeah.
They can't stay on the lot quick enough. I mean, and people are just adopting. I mean, when your gas is $6 a gallon, it's not a hard decision to make.
What's the conversation with customers like on the EV side? And are you using technology to help foster that, or?
They're very educated customers. Okay. Sometimes they know more about the EVs than some of my sales team. And that just speaks to who they are. They're educated. They have done their research. They're here because they've already made a decision. And we just have to provide them the best customer experience to earn their business. They're not asking a lot of questions about the vehicle.
Again, the complete opposite. Yeah. I would say it's very basic questions like how's the distance? How does this affect this? How do I charge? Where do I charge? How do these things work? How do I get this equipment in my home? There's a lot of very generic questions, very baseline questions that they're asking.
How are you getting the word out in Austin and Florida? Is it just internet?
Yeah, we're doing targeted ads, display ads directly into those other markets. So we'll go out and do a competitor analysis and see you don't have any, or you're trying to sell them over MSRP, and I'll come deliver over there to you and I'll sell it at a discount. Very successfully, it's worked for us. We like EV buyers, for us, because we're not trying to necessarily play in our own market, which would be similar to the market that you're dealing with, where they would have a lot of questions. These buyers are coming in very educated. It's just providing a great experience and delivery that works excellent for us.
All right. Let me ask you, I'm curious to know, what's your, because we AUTOVATE, we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and innovation and in technology. And what's your biggest challenge at the dealership today? And I'm asking that for a specific reason, because I think, that, we focus on innovation. Well, what are some areas you think that we can innovate?
Service staff. Okay. I think that's our biggest upcoming challenge. Okay. I think with the rise of EVs, we're going to see more and more of a need for that. Certainly. What are we doing? Are we depending on people that are entering the workforce to go out and find that? Or are we developing programs to bring that to them and bring them up in it? Right. And as dealerships, we have got to get those programs up and running, or we're in a bind in somewhere between 10 and 15 years from a service perspective.
Yeah, I would say as a whole people. I mean, the people we would typically hire, the younger people that are starting in their careers, right, they think differently than in previous generations. So it's figuring out how the old school sales manager can focus on the new way, right? And so it's finding different programs and perks and benefits that attract these new people, because commission scares the heck out of a lot of younger salespeople.
Right.
So it's changing how we've always done things, and we do it all the time, right? The great thing about automotive is it's always changing. We've adapted. We have to overcome COVID. I mean, people still buy cars, so it's figuring it out.
Right.
But it's different for every single area and every single dealership on how you overcome that.
Sure.
I think for us, it's really making sure that we're utilizing the technology that's available to us as it comes to market. Okay. VLAs, right? So VLAs, we asked for VLAs, and we ended up having to switch agencies to get VLAs because the agency we were with just wasn't behind it. And so we switched agencies, we have our VLAs, and we need to be on the cutting edge of what's next. So, for example, Microsoft vehicle listing ads.
Yes. Okay.
They just
Yes,
got
they just
listed,
did that,
and so we need to be ahead of the curve in technology as it presents itself.
It's a super interesting perspective, and I agree with you. As dealers, we tend to be reactive, not proactive. It's a problem.
Right. Well, it's hard. I mean, we're still in that. How many cars did you sell today? You sold the manufacturers asking, how many cars did you sell this month? And it's still a monthly, despite all of the talk about going, quote unquote, build to order, which we'll never see, but yet, that you would think that's a more proactive way, but still it's the way the customer is this way they buy cars too, right? So I think we all live in that world of what we would like, but then what we still have to deal with and manage every day. Well, listen, I think it's time to wrap up. But again, congratulations on your auto remarketing honor, 40 under 40. We look forward to seeing and hearing a lot more from the ladies here in the future in our space.
Thank you.